Welcome to Yelling Into the Void, a podcast discussing and exploring topics in World of Warcraft and other games like World of Warcraft, because there's not a lot to talk about for World of Warcraft today. So, but guys, as always, I've got Scott here with me.
Hello.
And we're going to talk a little bit about Fellowship today, I think.
Yeah. Turns out, folks, the old Warcraft is in a bit of a news dry spell these days. It's interesting because I'm still playing the game a fair amount, right? And I'm enjoying my time with the game. It's just like, as far as like things to talk about in front of a microphone, there is not a lot going on right now. There's stuff coming, right? We got an announcement just today, the 22nd of September, that alpha is starting soon.
2 weeks?
Yeah, it's the 2nd of October?
Yeah, like 2 weeks away. They're starting alpha.
Yeah. And we're gonna have a big hour long deep dive that they maybe should have had when the expansion was announced. We're gonna have that on the 1st, so that's good, and then a live Q&A afterwards. So we'll maybe have some stuff to talk about. Well, not next week, but the week after next.
Well, I'm just saying, as World of Warcraft's biggest content creators, you and I better get an invite to this alpha.
Oh, it's a foregone conclusion. I actually, I have Ian's personal cell, and I just sent him a little texty text and was like, just making sure my keys are in the mail, because that's how they send those.
Oh yeah, they mail them to you.
Yep. So don't worry about it. We'll get in there, and then we'll have plenty to talk about for the next. I mean, the cool thing is, despite the fact that we are clearly not getting into alpha, like the emergence of alpha will result in content.
Yeah.
There will be things to talk about. People will be experiencing and reporting on the game as they play it in alpha, and we will ingest all that for you and then spit it out in a easy to digest and entertaining manner, as is our want. So look forward to that.
The other part about alpha coming, well, I guess not even alpha coming, in 2 weeks ish time frame, we're also going to have turbo boost. Like we're going to have a lot going on here in a couple weeks. So
yeah, you're right. We've got 1, 2, 3 more resets until turbo boost. I gotta get my gear up.
I want to start stockpiling those.
Yeah, crests. I want to start stockpiling crests. So I mean, we can't really stockpile yet because they're capped. So there's not too much we can do. We can continue to just cap every week, which I will continue to do. But that's exciting. It's all exciting. It's just exciting down the road. So I think we're gonna mostly talk about Fellowship. So Tevin, for those that might not know, what's Fellowship? What is it? What is this thing?
So Fellowship is a game that has been on you and I's radar for probably a little over a year now at this point.
Yeah.
And it is a game that is trying to take everything we love about World of Warcraft in its Mythic Plus infinitely scaling system and really just condense that down into its own game and remove all of the other nuance and everything that comes around with like raids and stuff like that. That way the entire focus can be on the dungeons and the like Mythic Plus-esque experience. So
yeah,
they do it a little bit different because pretty much everything in Fellowship is added via an affix. So for example, right, like we have Mythic 0 dungeons in World of Warcraft. There's no timer. You go through them, you do them at your own pace. You finish it once you kill all the bosses. In Fellowship, you like the first like 3 or 4 levels of a dungeon just don't have a timer. And then once you hit like the first affix that gets added is the timer.
Yeah.
So there's still enemy forces required, but there is no timer until you get that first affix. So that kind of gives you like an idea on how they're doing things. And then that further, they add in affixes as we know them as well. And, mobs get more health, they hit harder. And I think that they've done this cool thing in the past, or have at least talked about at a certain point, bosses will get different abilities and do
Yeah.
different things, which is a cool thing that you and I have talked about with Mythic Plus in WoW, where it's like as you go up in key level, things don't necessarily change. How you have to handle them changes because bolters go from doing half your health to killing you outright.
Yeah.
But the mechanics don't physically change, which is something that I think is really cool that this game does. But all of that aside, that's what it is. It's distilling Mythic Plus down into its own game. Its gearing system is 100% contained in this Mythic Plus experience. There's not anything else that you need to do. And I don't know. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of things that I like about this, and there's some things that I don't necessarily love.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so it went into its open beta at the end of last week. So we spent some time over the weekend playing it, not near as much time as I wanted to. And that's for a very big reason. That is, for some reason, and this has been true in every round of testing that you and I have been involved in since the beginning. Some of those we couldn't talk about at all because we were under NDAs, but for some reason, the healer population in this game is astronomically high, especially as compared to the DPS population. So, in this open beta, there are 7 classes available: 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 3 DPS, 2 ranged magical DPS, and 1 melee, basically a rogue. And the reports that we got from the team was 80% of people playing, 80% of people queuing at any given moment in the course of this open beta weekend were healers. 5% were DPS, so that means 15% were tanks. That's crazy. That's insane. And so I did most of my playing on Friday, a little bit last night as well, but I tried to queue into their dungeon finding system, their scaling one, because there's a quick play mode and there's like kind of like a campaign mode that you go through ranks like in League of Legends to get to the more and more challenging things. I tried to queue into that. I sat in queue for an hour and I gave up. And the reason why I sat in queue for an hour is because I was playing a healer, and turns out so is everyone else. I think this is really fascinating because I don't know if this is like the root cause of this is it just people coming new to the game that want to test the game are going to trend toward healers in general, and once the game is full released we will see the population balance out to what it is in every other type of game where the vast majority of people play DPS? Is it something about this game in particular? Is it something about the type of people that this system is attracting? I don't know. It's a mystery, but 80% seems insane. Absolutely insane.
yeah, so there is a couple of things that we need to discuss first about like trying to unpack this number, I think. The first thing being the tank, like the 2 tanks that you've been able to play and the 2 healers you've been able to play have been the 2 tanks and the 2 healers since the beginning of their playtesting.
Yes,
At least that you and I have been involved with. So
that is true.
every single time it has been these 2 tanks and these 2 healers, and they have iterated on that and they've changed things about them and continued to make them better. I think that that might be one of the driving factors behind it, because for DPS, we have had one character who has remained the same the entire time. It is a Frost Mage called Rhyme. That one has maintained its spot every single playtest it's been there. And honestly, of all of the DPS that I've played, it feels the best. It has been the most flushed out. So I don't know if this like rotating thing that they're doing with DPS is really pushing people away, because for our first playtest, we had a Frost Mage and a Fire Mage, and those were the only 2 DPS you could play.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time we played, they added like a 2-handed warrior guy that you could play, and now
He's gone.
and then removed the Fire Mage, and so it was just the Frost Mage and the warrior guy. And now in this version that we're playing, the warrior guy is gone, the Fire Mage is back, and then they added a rogue, and so now there's like 3 things you can play. So I I really struggle to understand why they're doing so much rotation, if it is just they're not happy with how things are playing or what. But I
Yeah.
can tell you, at least from my experience, And I haven't made it super far, so I mean, take it with a grain of salt. But the DPS classes feel lacking.
Is it just the rotation is not fun? Is not interesting? Is not dynamic? I mean, what do you mean when you say that?
It just like so a lot of things. It's weird because a lot of people will complain about this with World of Warcraft, and especially if you're like a Final Fantasy player, you'll complain about this. But what is fun to me in WoW is the reactionary gameplay that we get. And
Mm-hmm.
so procs inherently to me are fun until they become like this is the only thing that deals damage. And now you're fishing for something to do all of your damage, and then it becomes not fun. But having
Sure.
something to react to is fun. And in Fellowship, from what I have played so far, the amount of procs there are in this game, and therefore reactionary things to do, is extremely low. So you are clicking like the same filler button over and over again, and then you've got a couple of buttons that you press when they come off cooldown, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's your rotation. You just do it over and over and over and over again. It doesn't matter what character you're playing, it's all the same. The only caveat to that was the warrior guy. And the reason for that is because they did this like weird thing, but kudos to them for trying something new where you had to like time his abilities around your like swing timer, and you had this like visual swing timer where like if you pressed an ability at a certain point it would deal more damage,
Yeah.
and then like things like that. So that is like the only uniqueness that I've seen, and the only thing that isn't just press a filler button on cooldown and then all of your other buttons just make sure you're pressing them when they come up, and that's it.
Yeah. I see that definitely. I think so. My experience with this game, outside of waiting in a queue for an hour and giving up, is the matchmaking system is really interesting, and it's tough. So basically, what happens is you have these like three levels of going up right now. The one you start in is contender, and I think you run contender until you do like a contender +7 key, and then you move on to adept, and then you run adept 1 through 7, I think, and then you move on to I think paragon, or maybe paragon's the last one. I don't remember, but so my experience in the basically you say I want to do a contender key, and you can either join in with a full group already, or you can just queue, and a window pops up and it has 3 dungeon choices of I think there are three different difficulty levels. The highest difficulty will be like one above what you've timed. So if you've only ever timed a 1 or timed none, you will get like 1s and 2s. If you timed a 2, you'll get 1 through 3s, etc., etc., etc. So you basically the group of 4 votes on one of those 3 dungeons, and you go. And so far, when we've done it, it's only been so this game has 2 different things in their Mythic Plus system. They have dungeons, which are longer experiences with multiple bosses, basically a Mythic Plus dungeon. And then they have these little things they call adventures, which are like 10 to 12 minute experiences that is just kill a bunch of mobs, kill a final boss, and complete it. And I don't know at what point the dungeon ones like enter the game. It hasn't for us yet. We've run up to like a contender 4 or 5. Maybe it's at the adept level is the first time those pop up. But I found myself sitting here going like, I wish I could like do a dungeon in this game. Like these little 10-minute things are fine, I guess. But like I want to do like a dungeon. I wanted like what because we did in other playtests we did the dungeons. And also, I just think it's a little weird that you can't necessarily pick which dungeon you want to do. Like, I mean, we've
Mm-hmm.
complained about this in Mythic Plus before as well, because you're kind of limited by your keys, but only the key holder is really limited by their keys. If you're just trying to get into a key, you can do whatever one you want. But this is you're limited by a system popping up and saying you can pick one of these 3, and that's all you can do. I mean, maybe ultimately that's not a problem as you scale up. I don't know. We haven't played enough, but I found that a little frustrating, and I just wanted to get it because I remembered some of these dungeons, and I was like curious to see like, oh, how did they change the pirate dungeon? And so, but instead of doing the pirate dungeon, we got to do one of the pirate adventures, which had a new boss, which was a fun little boss at the end of it. That's I think overall the fascinating thing about this game to me is I had fun playing it. Like I have no real complaints with like the minute to minute of the gameplay. I think where this game is going to ultimately struggle for me is they are firmly setting their sights on basically you and me. Like the
Mhm.
target audience for this game is people that like World of Warcraft Mythic Plus. Either people that are actively playing World of Warcraft Mythic Plus or people that look at Mythic Plus and WoW and say, gee, that sounds like a fun system. I would love to do something like that, but I don't want to pay a monthly sub and I don't want the time constraints and all the other shit you have to do in WoW just to do this one system. And so one of the eternal questions the game has to answer for the majority of people that are going to be experiencing with this is the question of, okay, sounds great. Why shouldn't I just play World of Warcraft?
Mhm.
And I don't know in this open beta experience if I've had that question sufficiently answered for me yet. Because like I had a fun time with it. I did. Um, but it's not better than Mythic Plus. At least not
Yeah.
yet. Maybe it'll become better than Mythic Plus, but it's not right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I think kind of play into that, though. Like the fact that you are a little bit time gated behind what you can do, I think is definitely playing into that.
Sure.
Um, like,
And I don't know if some of these limitations are just beta limitations or what. Like, right? Like it could very well be that they're just they're restricted stuff just for the beta that in the final version of the game is not going to be as restricted. I don't know.
mhm. Yeah, I'm imagining this like first area that we are progressing through, Conquer or whatever, is meant to be like the tutorial. Like, get
Sure.
used to everything. Here's a timer. Here's all of the things that you're gonna have to interrupt. Like, get used to things before they become a bigger problem, and then here's the bigger dungeons and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
So
could see that.
I have a feeling that's kind of where they're going. Um, the other part of this game that is a little bit weird to me is the fact that when you are queuing in to a dungeon or queuing into any content, at least at the level at which we've been doing it, it doesn't seem like it has any preference whatsoever on like the DPS that it pairs you with. If you take any random
Yeah,
in, it will potentially pair you with somebody playing the exact same thing as you,
sure.
which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it feels like it shouldn't do that. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like you want diversity, and so
sure.
it should try and find something that you don't already have in your group.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. Like, I don't think we know enough about it to know. Like, is there comp like synergies? You know, I have no idea.
Mhm.
I mean, I know like the two different healers have the what you would expect different healer profiles where one is clearly a hot healer like a druid and the other is like a priest. They're a direct healer that does big instant heals. But which is which one is better determined by just total output, or is it synergies? I don't know yet. I would hope so. I mean, that's one of the things, like you can open the menus in the game and you see complexity, right? You have, as you do dungeons, you unlock different abilities and eventually you'll unlock your talent tree, which is more reminiscent of like the mop era talent trees that are just like you have, I think, 5 or 6 levels that each have 3 choices. The interesting thing about it, though, is that it's not like you can choose one thing per row. You can choose multiple things per row,
Yep.
um, which is cool and interesting. And so I think there's some complexity there. There's like a gem system that I don't fully understand yet, like that I think is an end game system that has a lot of um, perhaps customization in it. That's one thing I'm not seeing right now is like even with the talents the way they are, there doesn't seem to be a lot of like build customization that you can like outfit your character very differently. I mean, it has basically all the same secondary stats that you would expect from World of Warcraft. Their versatility is called expertise, but it's like the exact same thing. Um, like there's a lot of cool, interesting things here. It's just like like here's what I'll say. This game starts early access on the 17th of October. I'm probably going to buy it and continue to play it because I'm curious and I want to see what, as you get up to the top end, what it looks like. There's like an endless mode that they've talked about, which I like. Here's the thing I can't figure out, Tevin. We have these, we have the, we have, you know, combatant or conqueror or whatever. We have adept, we have whatever, we have paragon. And then there's supposed to be after that an endless mode. And like, is endless mode just Mythic Plus? Like, is like, does every new season we're gonna have to like go through like a 4-tier system before we get to just what M Plus ultimately is? I don't
Right.
know. I don't know. The endless mode is not unlocked on the beta. I don't even know if it's going to be unlocked in early access. So I mean, like, it's a cool idea. I'm interested in it. I still remain interested in it. I think we said this when we talked about Fellowship months ago, but one of the cool things about it is, from a UI perspective, everything comes with it. There's basically, they just copy details and that's in the game. There's a boss frames. There's like party frames that are very, very good. There's not weak auras, but the UI is very flexible to where you can kind of create your own weak auras. Sort of like, basically you have a cooldown tracker type thing. They do this really interesting thing with kicks that is like, you can press a special button and it will, after you kick something, it will display your kick cooldown on the what is it called, on
Nameplate.
the nameplate. Thank you. It will display
Huh.
your kick cooldown on the nameplate for everyone to see. So if everyone's looking, and if you're wondering if you should kick, you can look at the nameplate and see, oh, Tevin's kicks on cooldown, this person's kicks on cooldown, I have to kick this. And it just allows you to kind of communicate who's responsible for kicking. Although I will say, neither of the healers get kicks, which I think is shitty. I don't like that. I think we should have them too. There's a lot of kicks in this game so far, and we're only in like the base difficulty level. So I really would like to help with that in any way.
Yeah, well, you could just go play a priest in WoW too, and then you just get the same experience from this then.
Yeah.
So I will talk a little bit about the gem system because I tinkered with it in the last playtest. That is where a little bit more diversity comes in, because you get gear, which if you have specific gems, like there's the different colors or whatever, then you get different bonuses, and so you can kind of tailor your secondary stats based off of the gems that you're equipping, and things like that. So there is a little bit of diversity there. And then the talent system, like you said, since you can pick, it looks a lot like mop talents, but the way that it's actually handled is you get a number of talent points, like it would be classic WoW talents, and then you can spend those however you please. So some talents take 2 talent points, some take 1,
Some
some
take
take
3.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can spend them how you would like to, in any of the rows. The way that the game progresses you through them, though, is you unlock 1 row at a time. So, like, I think it's after you do like 5 dungeons or something, you'll unlock your second row of talents, and then,
Yeah.
so there's 2 kind of like, I guess 3 levels of progression now. Progression has changed every time we played this game.
It's so different from what it was when we first played this game. Like, they added this big like star map type thing, which basically looks like, I guess it kind of looks like a Path of Exile like progression thing, but it's much less complicated than that. It's just simply like, do dungeons. Every time you do a dungeon, you will unlock a node. The node will give you either a new ability, a new row on your talent tree, a new talent point. Sometimes it'll give you gold. Like there's one that's related to the adept whatever advancement thing, and so it's like get this score and it'll unlock this, which gives you this. Some of them are like, do this thing on your account and you'll unlock a mount for all of you. Like it looks like, when you open up the thing, it looks overwhelming and big, but it's actually very, very simple. It's just like a visual way of tracking unlocks and advancement through the system.
Mm-hmm. The cool thing about the advancement to me, and this is where I kind of want to give the devs kudos. I think they were actually thinking about this a little bit, because it isn't just, okay, on this character do 5 dungeons and then you unlock this, and then 10 dungeons, and then you unlock this, and then
Yeah.
15 dungeons. And like, there are multiple ways for you to progress through this. So doing dungeons and doing dungeons at a specific level does progress you through one of the tracks, and that
Yeah.
gets you like being able to do higher level dungeons. It gets you some gold, it gets you other things. But then they also have a track for like, get X amount of item level, and then that unlocks some different things.
Yeah.
And then they have a track that's like your account wide track. So if you
Yeah.
do this thing, you unlock this amount on your account or whatever. Like, they have a bunch of different avenues in which you're progressing. So it feels like you're not only like progressing up the rung of like a Mythic Plus like you normally would with Keystone levels, but it also kind of brings in that WoW esque feeling where it's like I'm also progressing my character and then progressing my account, and therefore just like getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So I think that's
Yeah.
good.
And they have said that, the highest level dungeons will reward the highest both quality and amount of resources and loot, to the point where, while a lot of the game will be locked behind individual character progression, like there's two healers, right? If I'm progressing on one healer, I am not unlocking things on the other healer. I am not getting gear for that other healer. But my understanding is it is designed to where once you can do this thing on your main, we'll call it, the speed at which you can get gear and gear up on alts is going to be greatly increased, which is a
Mhm.
pretty like it's basically seems like what they're doing the equivalent of like if you could trade crests to your alt kind of thing.
Yeah.
In WoW. Which is great. I love that because I am going to want to kind of dabble with the healers and things like that. It is not an RPG in that you like create your own character, and the look of it and the name of it. Your name in the game is based off your Steam name. The look of your character is like the druid healer in this game is this girl, half centaur or half dryad looking chick. I think gear does display slightly differently, but there are also skins that you can purchase. I don't actually know how the cash shop works in this game because I thought it was going to be a free to play game. It is actually going to be a pay to play game. It is $25. But I don't know if that's just an early access thing, if that's going to remain true when the game is out of early access or not. I don't know. I haven't seen any cash shop stuff at all. But there's plenty different methods and things, and I think for us WoW players, I think the thing that is most encouraging about this thing is maybe it's just going to give Blizzard a bunch of cool ideas. Like as you talked about, the idea that as you level up in keys, the bosses are not only going to hit harder, they do different abilities, and that is still in the game. There's different ability unlocked at different thresholds, and that's cool. That's a cool dynamic way of doing difficulty that is not just number go up. Key is harder because number higher than last key. Key is harder because boss got harder because boss introduces a new ability and you have to figure out how to deal with that. Like that's cool. That's exciting. Seeing them do something like that in Mythic Plus would be awesome. I just, again, like, I wonder for the long-term success of this game, is it enough for them to be the thing that people play when WoW is at the lull point of their season? Like, and maybe it is. Maybe that is their whole kind of structure and thing, is that like we're gonna make a solid, fun game that people that like Mythic Plus really like to play, and we know that every time a new WoW patch comes out, they're gonna leave us behind and go play WoW for a couple months, but then they're gonna come back. Maybe we'll even like cascade our patches and our seasons to hit at the midpoint of a WoW season. That would be very clever of them to do something like that.
That is something they've been doing with a lot of their playtesting. Almost every single playtest that they've done has been in a lull period with Mythic Plus. So I
Yeah.
definitely think that the devs of this game obviously brought a lot of inspiration from WoW, and I think they're still keeping their finger on the pulse of WoW, because every single playtest has been around a point where people are starting to kind of wane off of WoW.
Yeah.
And to the point of like in this playtest, they have gotten a bunch of huge WoW content creators to come over and play Fellowship for a while. So
Yeah.
I think that if they did that and then they timed their like development cycle around World of Warcraft, it is an ecosystem where both games could exist.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know that that's the best for the longevity of their game, though.
Maybe not. I mean, there's so much up in the air, right? Like, how quickly are they going to be able to respond to class balancing, to dungeon balancing? Like, these are things that we are sometimes critical of Blizzard on, but I think generally they do a fairly good job, and it's because they have a very robust team. They have a lot of money, so they have a relatively large team that is able to do that quickly. Can this game do that? How often are new classes going to come out? Like, as we've already talked about, there are 7 in this open beta. There are 8 classes total that we've seen in the game. I don't know why the hammer guy was excluded from this beta. Maybe they're working on kind of retooling him, or maybe they just wanted people to focus on certain classes and not others, and so they pulled those out of the test. I don't know. Will we see the hammer guy back in the open access, in the early access that's happening, I believe, on the 16th of October? Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I don't know. Um, they had a lot of server stability issues in this. Like, the servers were getting slammed. This is, I mean, which is it's good for them. It's exciting for them, but they struggled throughout a lot of the weekend with both server stability, with their matchmaking systems not working right, with just general lag and stuttering in the game, and long load times getting into the main base stronghold thing, which is, I mean, that's what an open beta is for, right? You're stress testing your stuff. So, like, I'm not saying, they should be worried. I am saying I think there's quite a bit of work to do before the game comes out. And that's when this weird, like, early access model happens. You know, it's like the game is technically going to be out in early access on the 16th, but that's early access. It's not the release of the game. It's this weird kind of gray area. I don't love the early access structure. I understand why games do it. I understand especially why this game is doing it. But I don't love that kind of business model of releasing basically an unfinished game that you have to pay for. Uh,
Yeah, and putting a cash shop on top of that is also like kind of scummy.
yeah, but I
Like,
mean, is there I haven't seen it, so maybe I haven't seen it because they're not going to put a cash shop in beta.
so here's my like gigabrain huge, like if they do this, I think that they're going to make a lot of people happy, but they'd be taking a financial hit. If they have skins in this game and no cash shop and the only way to earn them is through achievements in the game, I think that will make the player base from World of Warcraft extremely happy, because there is nothing that I feel like this player base complains and bitches about more than the cash shop and all of the things that it offers. Yet they will still go buy the $90 auction house mount. Um, so yeah, I think that would be a pretty good thing for them to do. The only thing that I don't understand is I was kind of under the assumption, like you said, that this was going to be free. Then I saw that they were charging for it during the last beta, and I think that might just be while it's in beta, kind of like Path of Exile 2 is doing,
Yeah.
because PoE 2 is going to be a free to play game. But if you want to play it early, you want to play it right now, you can play it. Um, so maybe that's what they'll do. But if it's a free to play game, then I imagine that there's going to be monetization somewhere else.
I mean, even if it's just like a $20 fee to get in, right, and then maybe they have expansions every so often that they charge money for. Like, is that like, I don't know. I don't know any of the back end of this stuff, how much it costs to run this thing. Like, how is this um a money making proposition without a cash shop in it? So
Mhm.
I,
I
I don't know.
the one thing that I want to like commend this game for, I guess I've commended it for a few things, but one of the major things that I do want to say is, while this does feel like it is a very copy and paste of Mythic Plus, and they're taking a ton of inspiration from it,
Yes. Yeah.
it does feel like its own thing. And
Yeah.
I think that they do that very well by having this like split of like adventures and dungeons, because you don't have like, if you want to do a key and wow, and I'm not talking like a 2, but if you want to do like an actual progression key, you are locking yourself to that dungeon for at least 30 minutes, most likely, right around 30 minutes. And so there's no short form content to do in the Mythic Plus sphere in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So I think that they've done a very good job of kind of like carving out their own niche. There's a lot to work on. The combat still doesn't feel as good as WoW. I don't know that they'll ever get there.
I don't think that's
Um,
achievable. Like I just part of it is just we've been playing this game for so many years that we're just so used to how the combat feels that anything else is always going to feel like a little bit different in an uncomfortable way. It does still feel a little floaty to me. A little like response time is just like not super delayed, but like just a little bit. Um, but overall, I think it still feels pretty good. Um,
mhm.
I will say that the healer DPS rotations are very Final Fantasy 14 esque, um, and I think
Keep
that's
up your
only
dot, press one button.
yeah, essentially. I think that's
Uh-huh.
only a problem in the lower keys that we're doing right now because like with a couple of exceptions, there's just not too much to heal, especially for the hot healer that I'm just keeping my butterflies on people and then occasionally tossing a hot their way if they need it. But I don't know. We'll
You
see.
get to you get to cast Ironbark though.
I do. I have literally Iron Bark. I have an ability called Iron Bark. It is called Iron Bark, and it does the exact same thing that Iron Bark does. Um, I also basically have an F-Flow, except it doesn't actually. All the F-Flow in this game does is increase healing to everyone while you're standing in it. So it doesn't do healing of itself. It just amps any healing. And it's also on a 3-minute cooldown. It's got a massive cooldown. So, um, but I mean, I don't know. It's fun. There were some different mechanics we saw. Like there was some stack mechanics where the like it was just trash would like throw up these 4 circles and you would have to stack on them or massive damage happens to the group. There was like these line laser mechanics where you'd have to step out of them. So there's different stuff. It's not just trash cast spell must kick trash, which is good to see. It was interesting how like I think we did like a 1 and we saw a bunch of those mechanics, and then we did like a 4 and we saw much less of those mechanics. I don't know if that's just
Mhm.
like the different dungeon to dungeon have a difference in the number of those things, but I just thought that was weird. I also think some of them still, I mean, this is just because we're not good yet, but like some of these things resolve very quickly, almost too
Too
quickly,
fast.
almost quicker than you're able to actually respond to them.
Yeah, I noticed that very much so in one of the boss fights we were doing, where this boss does like a deafening screech, and you're supposed to line of sight it behind this pole, and 2 of the DPS are casters and one's melee, and it's like a Helya fight for anybody who
Mm-hmm.
fought Helya in Maw of Souls, where it's like she's off the edge, and you're having to like fight her, and then the pole is like closer to the back of the room, so if you're the melee, like there's no way you're getting back there in time by the time she starts casting this, so you have to be pre-moving it, which like I said, or like Scott said, there are boss timers. Like you can see it's coming,
Yeah.
it will be the next ability.
Yeah.
Also, kudos to no fucking bullshit spell queuing garbage like WoW has in this game.
Yeah.
But like if you're the melee, getting back there after you see the cast has started, not going to happen. If you're one of the ranged and you're in the middle of casting a spell and then have to move to line of sight, even if you are right next to it, you're likely not making it. It resolves in like a second and a half. It is
Yeah.
so ungodly fast. I think that a couple of those things need to be looked at. There's a couple of trash mobs who do the same thing.
Sure.
They
Yeah.
do this like arrow beam thing where if it casts directly on you and you have to move, or cast directly on a random player, and like I said, if you're in the middle of a cast, like you are canceling your cast. There is no greeting whatsoever, which is very different, I feel like, from WoW, where normally you can finish what you're doing and then you can move out of something. Very rarely are there cases where it's like, I have to cancel this or I am going to die. Like Shred Nation in uh,
Yeah.
Floodgate is like one of the things that I can think of is like that. But for the most part, like if there is a targeted effect or ground targeted effect or line of sight, you have time to react to that once you see the cast has started in WoW. And maybe that's because they don't ship with these timers and they're expecting you to just understand like, okay, this ability is coming next and I need to be moving now and not after it's already started casting.
Yeah. That's a funny thing to talk about, like what the future of WoW looks like when boss timers are built into the base game. Are they going to run with the expectation now that they're kind of unleashed to say like, well, we're going to give you a 1 minute warning on when this ability is. So yeah, you're going to have to pre-move.
Mhm.
We're not going to give you time to resolve this if you start working on resolving it when it's cast. I don't know. I kind of hope not, because I timers are good and useful and we all use them all the time, but I that would be tough for players of different skill levels. But I don't know. We'll see. Like, it's exciting. Like, one thing that has been true is that there has been no, like, WoW has plenty of competition, but there has been no competition to what dungeon content in World of Warcraft is. Mythic Plus has been its own thing since its inception. Like, no one has kind of done it this way. Like, Final Fantasy is the other big MMO on the streets right now, and they have nothing like Mythic Plus. They have like challenging 4-man dungeon content, but it is not remotely the same as Mythic Plus. And so, like we said in some of our other talks, like sometimes competition is just good, and having a game out here constantly trying to like figure out new things and be creative and differentiate itself from World of Warcraft and Mythic Plus is going to dump new ideas into the environment. And the Blizzard developers are savvy enough where they'll look at those things and be like, actually, that is a good idea. That is a good idea to do that. We can take that. I wonder if they're also going to be paying attention to the solo queue kind of matchmaking system in this game,
Mhm.
because that is one thing that they've talked about, and we've talked about the potential of adding that to Mythic Plus, and would that be good for the game? Would that be good for people? Like, how would that work? And paying close attention to like how it works in Fellowship, I think is maybe helps them kind of come to a decision on that.
Yeah, I also think that with the Fellowship player base the way that it is currently, maybe it sheds some light on like what this is going to look like if they start doing this queued content. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, the reason WoW has so many more DPS players than it has tanks and healers is, I think, part and parcel because people don't want responsibility as much,
Yeah.
but also like look at the number of DPS specs to the number of healer and tank specs. Like,
Yes.
it
Yes.
is a lot easier to get the masses on a DPS when there is 3 times as many DPS as there are tanks and healers to pick from. Right now with Fellowship, you have almost the same amount of DPS to pick from as you do tanks and healers. And I think that that might be why it's kind of crumbling right now as far as their queuing system goes. But it would be interesting to see how that shapes up and if that fixes itself as they introduce more. Because if not, that could be a lesson that WoW would learn too. Like, maybe we don't want to do this queuing system because people are playing more roles like tank or healer where we only need one of those in each group, and therefore people are waiting forever to get in, like
Yeah.
it could shed some light on that.
I do think, like, from the healer perspective, I think I agree with you that the number of DPS is a problem. The kind of maybe not great design, not fun design of some of the DPS classes is a problem. I think also there might just be people that are thinking, because this is like a queue system, if I want to jump the line, I'm going to be healer. Because it
Hmm.
seems like healers usually get quick queues, and so that the majority of people are doing that, not realizing that they've just made the exact opposite choice that they should have. There also, I think, is just like healing is a very challenging role in these games, especially at the high end. But like, if you're walking into a dungeon for like the first time, healing is a pretty chill experience. Like
Mhm.
if you're on a low key, you're unsure about the mechanics of the game, you're unsure about the mechanics of your class, you're trying to figure out all this stuff out, you don't know the dungeons, you don't know the bosses. Like going in as a healer, like you don't need to know any of that stuff. You're gonna be following the tank. You don't need to know your rotation very well because no one's relying on you for damage, really. You've just got to heal people, but there's not going to be too much damage going out. That's going to require a lot of like insane skilled spot healing. So it actually is probably the most chill class to dip your toes in the water of this game in. And maybe that's just the mindset for the majority of
Mhm.
people that are doing that. I don't know.
Yeah, it very well might be, but I'm trying to think like if we take anything else from Fellowship and want to see that in WoW in its current iteration that we haven't already touched on. I can't think of anything else major. I think the major thing that I would like to see come from WoW to Fellowship, though, is add in some reactiveness.
Sure.
Um, and that's to all aspects. Like, it is core to DPS in WoW to have a ton of reactive things to do, but I think that it would make tanking better. I think it would make healing better. And I think that in WoW, those things exist for tanks and healers as well. And I'm not saying do it for all of them. Like if you want to leave some of them as like your rigid rotation is this and kind of do it the Final Fantasy way, that's fine too. But I think you should at least have the option because the biggest problem with the DPS specs right now is there's just it it doesn't feel like there is anything that ever changes pole to pole. You
Sure.
go in and it's just depending on what is up and not depending on like what happens during the pull. Like so if you do the dungeon with the same tank doing the same pulls at the same speed every single time, it's not going to change. Like you are going to do the exact same thing every time. There's going to be no difference, which it
Yeah.
just so I think that's the major thing that I want to see from WoW come into Fellowship. And as far as like things from Fellowship to WoW, like I said, there's not anything major um, that we haven't already talked about that I'd like to see come in. But they are doing a lot of things right. I like
Yeah.
I don't want like I'm complaining a lot because I want this to be good. I want this to be an actual competitor to WoW,
Yeah.
but they are doing a lot of things right. Like you said, it's a fun game. And that is at its core the thing that you need to do if you want to have a successful game. It has to be fun.
I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about the fact that it's 4 people per party, which is roughly, let me do the math, 20% easier to get than 5 people. Um, so like the idea of finding a group of 4 of us to hit this game and kind of hit it hard for a couple weeks, advance up the ladder and see what the top end is like and what that feels like, I think is very exciting and very fun. And I'm not really interested in doing that in beta because you're just gonna have to do it all again over again once early access starts. But I think I dipped my toes in enough this weekend to say like, yeah, I think the iterative changes they made over the course of their private testing that we were involved in a little bit has improved the game vastly. And I want to continue to see how that goes. I do agree with you. I think they need more DPS classes stat, and I think that probably should be a priority for them. I hope that all 4 are in early access, and I hope that they've got a plan to introduce new ones very, very, very quickly, because they need you just need a shit ton of DPS classes to it's you need at least double, right? Because they're
Yeah.
one of each other role and then 2 DPS. So you need at least double the amount. And you probably do need even a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I was gonna say the bare minimum they need at least 4.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna have 2 tanks, 2 healers, you need at least 4 DPS to launch with
Yep.
because that's just like that gives you the best spread as far as numerically people playing different things. If we assume an even spread, now it's not going to be that, so you should have more
Yeah.
because there's a very good chance you have a DPS player who's coming from World of Warcraft who plays something like BM Hunter and there's nothing that hits that itch right now.
I mean, that's true kind of across the board, right? It is like you have your 2 casters, which are essentially boiled down to they're mages. It's just a fire mage and a frost mage. And so that, like, if you want to play a caster, There you go. Then you have your like agility melee character, and then you have, I mean, not currently, but you have your strength melee character, and that's it, right? You're right. There is no ranged class like a hunter. There is no. We have a friend that loves to play shaman characters and throw lightning bolts at things. There's nothing for him for that aesthetic right now. There's plenty of different archetypes and class types and even damage types. There's really no. Is the fire mage a dot class?
Yeah, the
It
Fire
is.
Mage plays a lot more like a Shadow Priest
Okay.
or a Affliction Warlock than it does an actual Fire Mage.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of different opportunities here for different things like that. So we'll see. I mean, I think I did play the two tanks during different testing. I have not played them all during this one. I think the one tank is like a super dumbed down and very easy version of warrior, and the other tank is actually like a pretty complicated monk thing that I thought was fun but complex. So those, I mean, that's exciting there as well. But yeah, I think add some new classes. I like, I don't, I mean, we haven't kind of seen how this is all going to lay out once the game is actually released. Like presumably they're going to do seasons and add new dungeons each season. Presumably they're going to add new classes at some cadence. I don't know how any of this looks ultimately, but I'm excited for it. I am. I think this is going to be really great. Whether it's going to be really great because the game itself is great, or whether it's going to be really great because it helps improve the game that we love. I'm excited for the future with Fellowship in it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only thing that I can say I am a little fearful of is the same thing that we said last time, and the fact that this is a small team driven by passion right now, which is good because that means passion drives innovation and a bunch of different things like that. That's good. The problem is when you do a seasonal model, that takes a lot of time and effort to make new dungeons, make new classes, balance things, make things feel different from the previous season.
Yeah.
I just hope that they have enough manpower to do that.
Yeah, you will see that people's charitability and patience are drained very, very quickly in this type of thing. People are usually generally pretty warm and excited for the devs when it's this new game, this new idea with unlimited potential, and you're in testing. So if there's server stability issues in open beta, yeah, we're okay with that. If there's server stability issues 3 weeks into early access, then the pitchforks come out and people lose patience very, very quickly. So yeah, I think you're right. They've signed themselves up for quite a challenge here in how, and once this game gets into maintenance mode, how are they going to be able to do that to the level that gamers in 2025 expect? That's going to be tough. It is.
Well, I guess we'll see how it all shakes out. But I don't really have a ton else on Fellowship that I wanted to cover. I know today's probably a pretty short episode, maybe an hour, maybe a little under an hour, which is fairly short for us. But given the state of WoW, I don't think that there's really much else for us to cover that isn't just going to be yapping for the next 30 minutes about something we probably said last week. So,
I mean, I got 3K this week, so congratulations to me. So we'll all just
pat yourself on the back.
Probably the easiest that's ever been for me, frankly. I think the dungeons.
You got 3K and almost resilient 13s.
Yeah,
all this week.
Yeah, it was. I shot up there because I was like, yeah, I'll just run these 13s, and we were timing them. We timed to 14 streets. We had absolutely no business timing. That is how free that timer is. Actually got my experience a first for me. You were in that key with me, but when one of our players voted to abandon and the rest of us just went, nah, I think we still got this. And I wasn't like 100% confident we still got it, but we voted no. And he decided to continue on with us and not be a baby and just stand there AFK. And lo and behold, we timed it. So it was close. We had seconds left there at the end, but we did it. So it's cool. It's cool seeing these systems kind of work in the way they're intended to work, which is like one person thinks we should get rid of the key. Everyone else disagrees and they go, oh, okay. And then we do the key.
The best part about it was the tank at the end of the dungeon told us to shame the doubter. That was the best part because then he came out and he was like, "It was me. I'm sorry."
Yeah, I think it is kind of neat that the system does not tell you who initiated the vote. I mean, in this case, we were playing with three of us and then a random tank and then this random DPS. And since the tank was still like actively running, we knew who it was. But I do like
Mhm,
the anonymity. If you're in a full pug group, like this is again one thing we talked about when they introduced the system was like it is a much bigger social load to say to the group, I think we should quit, than it is to just type slash abandon. So
mhm.
I think that will result in maybe more keys that should be abandoned being abandoned. um and I don't know. I know there's a lot of complaints about the system. I know we've seen some people abuse it. I haven't seen too much of that really. Which I guess is good. I sometimes I think the people that experience the most amount of toxicity in this game, I feel like they're responsible for a little bit of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I will say of the times that I've seen the vote abandoned to come up, uh, it's normally a pretty well deserved. Like the key is for sure over.
Yeah,
Like this is the
yeah,
first time I ever experienced it where I'm like, no, keep playing. Because I don't know. So like in a game like League of Legends where you have this like vote to surrender or whatever, like it's you against another like group of human beings who can make mistakes. And so like the feeling of hope there, I feel like can be drug along a little bit longer
sure.
than it is when it's you against a bunch of NPCs.
Yeah, I mean it's just
Because
mathematical at some point, right? Like we
yeah.
cannot we like just there's no way on earth we can do this. The math
Mhm.
just shows it. Yeah.
So I feel like that lends this system to be a little bit less toxic than the one in League of Legends is.
Sure.
That
Sure.
being said, I don't want to make any statements because there's definitely still going to be people who go to vote ban and get shut down and then they just AFK anyways. Or vice versa. They don't think that you should end it and so they're going to hold everybody else hostage. Like those situations are going to happen. I just don't think that they're necessarily going to be quite as toxic as it is in League of Legends.
Yeah, how do you think we is there a way to systematically stop that from happening? This whole thing where I'm going to vote abandon, lose my vote, and rather than risk getting my lever penalty, I'm now just going to sit and pout and wait for the key. Just go AFK until the key is untimed and then leave. Like, I don't know if there's a way of realistically stopping that from happening. I guess in theory you could report the person, but man, like that system's so automated and terrible these days. I wouldn't rely on it either way. Like I wouldn't rely on it to do what you need it to do in the cases where you should, and then to not overreact and punish someone when they were not actually doing anything wrong. Um, I think that's just one of those. That's one of those things in like no system is perfect, and you're just gonna have to live with some limitations of it. I think this is just one of those things that like it's gonna happen every so often. It sucks, um, but you're probably just gonna have to live with it. Some people are just gonna be assholes. That's unfortunately the way of things.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if they could do some weird thing where, like, after a vote abandon happens, like, track the actions per minute in combat of people. That way, if somebody like drastically drops below what they were prior to the vote, then
Yeah,
I don't know.
because they can't just do an
Again,
AFK. They can't just take like the battlegrounds AFK kick system, right? Because there's
yeah,
so many easy ways to get around that.
mhm.
That would
You
just
can't look at damage because if the key's going poorly and you're the first one dying every time, then
yeah
your damage is going to be low.
yeah.
So
I don't know. Maybe
I
there's
don't know.
something they can come up with there. I don't know.
hmm So other than like I said, it just feeling like it's not going to be quite as toxic. I am happy that it's like kind of working. Yeah, I guess like every scenario in which I've interacted with the system, like I said, it has done its job.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for that because I was one of the top skeptics of this coming from somebody who played League of Legends for
Sure.
so many years and
Yeah.
knowing how like toxic the forfeit system is. So
Yeah, I mean, I think, like we said, there are some people that are experiencing a lot of negativity and toxicity and badness. And I'm not saying that I have not experienced some of that. Like I've had keys where I'm just like, this person is just the worst, the worst example of players of this game, and they're awful. But for the most part, it's been pretty smooth sailing. So yeah.
all right. Well, I think we stick a pin in it there, Scott. I
Yep.
think that is a good place to wrap it up. My question for this week is if you guys are playing Fellowship, how are you liking it? What are you thinking are some things that they could improve on that Scott and I maybe didn't touch on here? Or if you think that Scott and I are wrong, you're wrong. But no, actually, let us know what you guys think. I really, truly want to hear what other people who engage with Mythic Plus and WoW, and then are coming into Fellowship actually feel about this game. Because I think that there are some glaring issues, but I do think that there's a lot of promise here.
Yeah.
So I want to get your guys' thoughts. And if you're not playing Fellowship, it's free on Steam for a little while right now. Go pick it up and try it out.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that's the main questions for today. If there is anything else, as always, you can contact us over at yellingintothevoidwow@gmail.com. YouTube is at yellingintothevoidwow. And then Twitter and Blue Sky are both at Into the Void Wow. And I promise I will start posts again for these episodes on there. I've been extremely bad about that, but I'll get back to
You
you.
don't have
I
anything else going on right now, so that's totally fine. Nothing else important, right?
yeah. I'm not trying to keep a tiny human being alive or anything like that.
Oh man, I've kept two of them alive for. I mean, how depending on how you calculate it, 4.5 years now, and it's not dead.
Hey,
So guess I'm doing something right. It's a
they're
lot of
doing great. They're doing great.
It's a lot of work, though. Yeah. Please make sure if you're not already subscribed to the podcast that you do so. As we said, we've got the big midnight announcement coming in just a little over a week. We've got the alpha coming after that, which of course we will be invited to. No, we will not, but we will be watching and analyzing and discussing all the new little tidbits of that we learn from World of Warcraft Midnight and everything else after that. So you don't want to miss any of that. Subscribe. We are Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, as Tevin said, and also anywhere else. Every podcatcher out there just takes from one of those. So we're there. I promise.
And then last but not least, guys, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting on YouTube, on Spotify, and anywhere else you can leave some comments. All of that helps us get more exposure, gets us recommended to more people, and allows us to keep doing what we are doing here. So I appreciate all of you. Hopefully you guys are enjoying Fellowship, and hopefully you are also still having a kick-ass season. But until next week, we'll just be over here yelling into the void.